Hi again, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about another camera. This isn't one that I own, it's one that I'm actually borrowing from work, but it's one with a lot of history behind it, and it is a very nice camera. I'm going to talk about pros and cons of it, why I like it, why I'm not really a fan of it. Yeah, just giving my opinions on it really. So the camera in question is the M3, Leica M3. This is one of the earlier ones. It's a double stroke, so in order to advance the film you have to advance it twice, then it'll take a picture. From the serial number I worked out that this is 1955, which is one of the later ones. They stopped making the double stroke in 1958, and yeah, it's a lovely camera. It feels very nice, and I've been borrowing it for about a week now from work, just putting a roll of film through it just to test it really, see if it works. On here is the 50mm Summicron, which is the Type 3, so it's a slightly more modern lens than the body, so it's 1970 lens, and for all intents and purposes, really good lens. I've shot 2 rolls of film through it, one colour, one black and white. I haven't had either of them developed yet, and because I'm returning this camera sort of tomorrow. But yeah, I've been using it for a week. Shot a roll of colour, roll of black and white. Hopefully, well, by the time I edit this and post it, I'll have had those pictures back and they'll be in this video. I'm going to talk about some of the features of this camera and some things I like, some things I don't, and just give you an idea of maybe what this camera is good for. So this was the first Leica M camera. This is the original bayonet fitting Leica M camera. They started with the M3 because, well, it's called the M3 because there are 3 auto-selecting frame lines in there. So as soon as you put a lens on there, if it's one that has frame lines, the camera will automatically adjust the frame lines in the viewfinder so that they're correct for you. And those frame lines are a 50mm, and there's also a 90 and a 135. So long focal lengths for rangefinder. They're nice lenses, they're very big, but they're not the easiest to use. If you want to use a 35, there's a 35 which has goggles to correct for the rangefinder, and they're also very expensive, which is understandable because they were only really made when the M3 was about. So yeah, they're nice to but yeah. The double stroke is a feature that was mainly implemented just to eliminate user error. Back in the 50s, the film stocks weren't as strong, they weren't on plastic bases, they were sort of much more fragile bases and they could tear easily. So by having it this way, you don't advance it so far, you're not pulling it so much, and it basically advances the film slower so that you don't potentially rip it either out of the canister or just rip through the sprockets so that the camera can't advance it anymore. Other things about this, the double stroke is nice. It's a nice feature. It feels nice, but I don't really like using it. I'd rather have a single stroke, to be honest, because every time I will take a picture, I'll advance it once and then expect to be able to press the button and nothing happens because I haven't advanced it again. And so it throws me a little bit, but I think that's mainly because I'm used to shooting with SLRs where it's just one single stroke, but that's just a small thing really. It's just a particular of this model. The camera itself feels great. It sort of fits in my hand really nicely. You've got the advance on the back, which works nice as a thumb rest, and your finger's just on the shutter button straight away. So it's really nice to use and hold. I'm just not a rangefinder person. Up to the viewfinder, the focusing is very accurate. I know that the M3 is arguably one of the most precise rangefinder cameras that Leica made. It seems very accurate, it's very sort of responsive, it will move smoothly and continuously depending on how fast I'm moving the lens. But because it's 1955 body, lens technology wasn't quite so advanced at the time, and the closest focusing distance on the M3 is about 1 meter, whereas this lens will focus down to 70 centimeters. So you get to a point where if you rotate the lens anymore, the rangefinder just stops, but you keep rotating. So you're not going to be able to focus that close. I know rangefinder focusing, you're not meant to focus very close. It's always going to be limited compared to an SLR, but there would be times where I would go to focus and find that something was slightly too far. So from here, The lens that I'm using on this is, so a meter already there, but to get it in focus I have to go back a tiny bit, literally a tiny bit, it's probably about an inch, just to line it up properly. But then I don't know if the lens is, if I've moved the lens at all past where it's meant to be, where its stop point is. So mainly what I've been doing is just landscapes or just f8 and hopefully be there. Other things about this camera, because of the auto-selecting rangefinder, well, window frame lines, you don't have a frame selector here, which does look a bit weird when you consider that pretty much every Leica after that had a little frame selector here. The shutter speed dial on this, they did change it. The later versions of the M3 don't have this, but on this one the shutter speeds are just different to what any camera would be now. I mean, you've got bulb a second, half a second, 1/5, 1/10, 1/25, 1/50th, 1/100th, 1/100th, 1/250th, 1/500th and 1/1000th. And the ones that are weird are 1/110th, normally be 1/115th, that's what they are now. 1/125th, now that's 1/30th, and 1/150th is now 1/60th. So essentially you're letting in a little bit more light. It's fractional, it's really not going to make that much difference, but you can get a meter which goes on the cold shoe and will couple to the shutter dial, which is why you've got this little notch here, and it will couple to that, but you have to, it's not going to line up perfectly because the shutter speeds are going to be different, which is a little bit annoying. The other thing about this is the film counter, film advance, well, yeah, the frame counter on this one. I've used an M2 in the past, so having a frame counter that auto resets, so nice, because I've used an M2 and it drove me mad because I just forget to reset it, and then I'd be shooting and be like, oh, no idea what frame I'm on, so I don't know how long, or if I need a new roll of film or what. So yeah, that is probably one of my favourite features, because I know that not all of the Leicas have it, and it's just so nice. It looks just beautiful design, just under a little piece of glass. It fits perfectly. Size and sort of quietness is ridiculous. As I said, it fits in my hand very, very well. It's a very, very compact little system, and I can understand why people use it for street photography, which is what I used to do quite a lot, but yeah, not really going to be using this for sort of portraits and things like that. But yeah, I can appreciate it as a camera, I just can't see myself using it in the future. The film rewind on this, before I go on, I will take a shot. So this is 1/1000th next to the microphone. So it's very, very quiet, which I love. It's always nice to have a quiet camera, especially when you've got an RB and Veronica or an F5, all very noisy cameras. So the other thing that kind of drove me a bit mad, I only shot 2 rolls through this, but yeah, it put me off straight away, was the rewind. It just takes so long. It just takes so long just to sit there rewinding the whole time. That's mainly just design of it. It's made to be sort of fit with the body, and of course it can't impact on the viewfinder. That's one of the issues of having them so close. So you can't have a much bigger one than this. This is as big as you can get it, just from a design perspective, without impacting on the viewfinder or sticking out over the edge of the body. So I understand it perfectly, but this just takes so long to rewind a roll of film. I don't know if that's just because I'm used to an F5, which can do it sort of 5-10 seconds flat, but yeah, it's painful is probably a bit of an exaggeration, but it's slow. It works, but it's just slow. The other thing with the early M3s, so with all Leicas, to get the base plate off in order to load the film, twist, that comes off, and then you'll load your film here, and you'll pull it across, put it in here. So with the M3, you have to take this spool out, load the end of the spool onto here, and then pop this back. And taking this out resets the film, the frame counter, which is nice. There's actually a physical switch up in the top. So then you'd pop that back in, wind it on, and you're good to go. But the other thing with the early M3s is that the pressure plate here is actually glass. It's hard to tell, but you can tell by the framing around the edge that it's glass. If it's not glass, it's just there's no sort of rim on it, there's no frame around the edge. But on this one there's a frame and then sort of another material, and that is the glass. That's one of the ways to tell the early ones if it's not a double stroke one, because you could get them adapted when they were still a current model, and you could get the shutter speed dial changed as well. So you can have double stroke M3s that you don't know are double stroke, which is something I didn't know. Apparently Leica was allow you to do conversions, or you could send it in to get a conversion done if you wanted the single stroke. I'm not sure what they changed or why they changed it, but yeah, you could get it done. And then of course, to pop film back up, once you've got the roll of film in there, the base plate goes specifically over this end and then just closes up again, which is, it's relatively simple design. It's everything you kind of need with no other extra bits. It's incredibly utilitarian. There's no meter. I mean, you've got the rangefinder, and that's kind of, yeah, it's going to be full manual, shutter speed after everything. And I do like that, but I don't think it's the camera for me. This is one of the advantages of working in a camera shop. You can try the cameras sort of before buying them, or even if you're just curious about one, you can try it. Yeah, glad I did try this one. I had tried an M4, I think it was an M4P in the past, which is very similar to the M6, just without a meter. And that had a classic sort of rewind with the little arm that comes out. Yeah, different shutter dial, more frame lines. So that's from memory, I think that's got a 20, 28, a 35, a 50 and a 90, I think. You should probably double check that because I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I used it, but the one I borrowed had a pinhole in the shutter curtain, so on a couple of frames you'd get spots or just bleeds basically onto the frame. And yeah, that was a lovely camera to use. I think I preferred the M3 over the M3 feel over the M4P, but I think I preferred how the M4P worked essentially. Wider viewfinder, better rewind. It was, yeah, if I had to go for a Leica, I'm not a Leica fan. I don't use Leica. I think the lenses are overpriced. Although they're excellent lenses, I think they're overpriced. And I know loads of people are going to hate that for me saying that, but I understand they are excellent lenses, and I can understand it's a beautiful camera. From a design perspective, they're so nice, and they're built like tanks. I mean, you can stand on them and you won't dent the top plate. You can drop them and scuff the top plate up. I mean, there's a big scratch here and a dent in this corner and a couple of dents up here, but I mean, they're built like tanks. For 1955, for a camera that's that old, it's done so well, and it's still in relatively good condition. So yeah, if you know you want an M3, I'd recommend it. Maybe try and find one that isn't double stroke. The double stroke, it will take a little time to get used to it, and it might drive you mad to start with. But yeah, it's nice. It's a very well built camera, but I'm just not a fan of it. The other thing that I bloody hate about this thing is shutter lock. There's no shutter button lock, and I know I could just not advance the film, but I just do. And then I'll take a picture, advance the film, and put it in my bag, put it on a strap and have it by my side, and I'll go to take a picture knowing that I've already advanced the film, go to press it and nothing, because it's already taken the picture. So I'm expecting quite a few blank frames from these two rolls that I've tried, but I'm excited to see them. Hopefully they're good, hopefully I like them. I know that the Type 3 Summicron, you got increased contrast, I believe that's just from better coatings, but it reduced resolution, so it's not one of the sharpest Summicrons. I mean, it's still probably bloody sharp, but it's not one of the sharpest Summicrons, and it's going to be quite contrasty. That was why I tried the colour film. So I put a roll of Kodak Ultra Max through this, and I just finished a roll of Kentmere 400 because I don't shoot black and white 35 that much, and that's the only film I've got. So maybe I should invest in some black and white 35 just so I can test cameras more easily. But yeah, the lens itself, the lens feels lovely. Almost tempted to, if I could afford it, if if I could justify it, I'd buy an M mount adapter for, I've got it for my X-T1, and use Leica lenses on that, because it would be phenomenal. I know that it would be so good, but I can't justify spending that much on lenses when I spend so much on just general camera crap anyway. So hopefully I've popped the pictures up, or hopefully I'm about to pop the pictures up because I've got them back and developed. So hopefully you enjoy. It's just a random mess of pictures really. There's no real theme to it, and there's only 2 rolls, so I don't know how many good pictures I'm going to get out of it, but I'll pop the pictures up now. Hope you like it, and I'll be back with you in a second. So those were my images from the M3. Hope you liked them. I have no idea what they're like. Recording this probably a week before I get the pictures back, so that means I'm going to be another week before I post this video. But yeah, that's kind of my overview of the M3. It's a lovely camera. Wouldn't necessarily recommend the double stroke unless you know you want it, but from a design perspective it's a beautiful camera and I can definitely appreciate it, but I don't think I can see myself using it anytime in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you want to do, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.